right, guys, how you doing? Chris Tilley here. We're gonna do a little bit of filming today and show you. Got Aaron Eddins with me. Today, let's go over the draw. We're gonna go over some target transition, and we'll save more for down the road. So, what are you looking for on a draw? For instance, are you looking for consistency on the draw? For me, it's all about the consistency of the draw, then the speed of my draw. Absolutely. And then the accuracy of my draw even. The consistency and accuracy, yeah, they kind of balance out, but what are you looking for on it?
Well, absolutely consistency, because it doesn't matter if I crush a couple draws on the stage and have a really bad fumble it, I'm losing that, I'm losing that time. Versus if I was consistent on every stage, in the end, it's going to be better.
Long time ago when I first started this, somebody told me, because I was really working on the draw hard and creating a lot of bad habits trying to go fast, and he told me, you're never going to win the match off of the draw, but you can sure lose it. That's exactly right. It took me a while to really get that, but I've had some bad draws, and it's cost me a lot of points here and there, and it's just now something recently I think that I'm actually starting to get decent at. And this year I want to do some steel challenge, be the first time I've ever done it. And there's a lot of draws in steel challenge, and they're very, very important.
Well, so I know you. I've just from watching you sometimes and filming you, I've noticed you've smoked some draws, and you said you were getting good at it. I think you have been getting good at it.
Some of them have been better than others, but yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you like what we got for you. Just little tidbits here and there. And again, we'll start doing this on a pretty regular basis. Again, I'm Chris Tilley. This is
Aaron Eddins.
Woohoo! So tell me a little bit, when you try to draw, what is a key point for you that you focus on? Like, give an example. Like for me, when I draw, I actually take a deep breath, let about a third of it out, hold it, and I exhale when the buzzer goes off, and I try to really keep my weight on the balls of my feet so I'm not swaying when my arms move.
Yeah, I definitely keep the weight of my. I try to stay balanced. I don't. Try to lean one way or another way, and I guess our draw is different. So I guess my scoop draw is. When I hit it, I concentrate on hitting it right here so I can get it out and get the web of my hand into my right there behind the grip safety. You know what I mean?
But doing a scoop draw, for y'all that aren't familiar with a scoop draw is actually where you hit the front strap of the gun first on the draw, and your middle finger is actually hitting the undercut of the trigger guard first. I do what I refer to as a snap draw. When I'm snapping the gun out, I actually come over top of the gun, even when my hands at side, wrist below belt start. I come above the gun and into the gun at like a 45-degree angle. So my web of the hand hits the grip safety and tangle the gun, and I also try to make sure the heel of my hand hits the back strap of the gun at the same time. So definitely two different draw styles. A scoop draw, especially for those up close targets. Gilbert Perez is one that comes familiar. He does 60 draws all the time. It's ridiculous. You can't do that when you're doing a snap draw. But doing that scoop draw for me has made it where it's very inconsistent, and I always feel like I'm going to throw the gun on the ground. One of the first times that I ever tried it in a match, I literally knocked the gun out of my holster and caught it before it hit the ground. So I don't do the scoop draw. I do everything that I do, whether it's hands at side or surrender, is going to be that snap draw. So what about surrender for you, Aaron? What do you do? What kind of?
So for surrender, I do the snap draw because that's how I learned. Hands on a wall or on something, I always I snap draw, but hands at sides I always scoop draw.
I think for me, what made it, and I know there's a lot of good shooters. Saul Kirsch is one of the ones that come to mind. There's a lot of guys that actually practice and train doing both draws. Depending if there's a 5-yard target, that's wide open, he's gonna do a scoop draw. He's gonna take advantage of that tenth or two. And then on everything that might be a little bit more technically difficult, he's gonna do that snap draw. I don't like the fact of learning 2 different draws. I like the fact that he has more tools in his tool bag, but I try to keep that continuity of how I draw the guns the same way no matter what.
I agree, and a hand surrender, hands on something, I never liked having to. I've always thought it was slower to come down and then get the gun versus when my hands are already here. I thought it would be slower, or I think it's slower to come and grab the gun like that.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're absolutely right. So if your hands are already below the gun, why have them go past the gun and then come back? No, I understand
Same thing if
that.
your hands are above,
exactly.
Or, you know.
So it's one of those things that I actually don't care if you scoop draw or snap draw. I think it's something else that you do different. Your grip, you do trigger finger forward on your weak hand. I keep more. It's kind of funny because back in the day, that was actually taught more, and that was the old school kind of way of shooting that with the weaver stance, right? So I do more of a, traditional, if you will, where all 4 of my weak hand fingers are together underneath the trigger guard. If a student comes and they're doing that, I'm not necessarily going to change them. I wouldn't teach somebody that, me personally. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that there's certain circumstances where trigger finger forward can make it a little bit easier to have a bad grip or bad draw, especially is where those bad grips come from.
I've come into that, but in dry fire and live fire practice,
you can overcome it with practice, with training.
One reason, I tell you, it feels better for me, but one reason it feels better is when I do the, I guess, clear.
Yep.
When I have my, I guess, forefinger under the trigger guard, I feel like my support hand.
You feel like a lower
arm. My support arm is more locked out, whereas like this, it's not. I got you. The position of my hand feels like I'm trying to shoot a Glock. You know.
I get what you're saying. Your weak wrist angle is at a better, more comfortable spot for you. Long story short, I think your grip pressure is everything. I think your grip placement is very little.
Absolutely.
So that
I think it means absolutely. It definitely means more about that.
That's probably one of the few things, if you wanted to try something a little different from everybody else. Again, Lena Mikulek, she does 2 grip. She does her finger, her trigger finger, and her middle finger on the trigger guard. She shoots great. So
at the end of the day, I don't think it makes too big a difference. I think it's what works for you.
I don't think it helps you. I don't think it helps her. I don't think it hurts anybody either.
I don't think it helps you to do it your way. So
that's the thing. It's one of those rare instances. I think that there's definitely options. There's actually lots of options in here. This is one of those rare situations where you can actually do what feels right to you. Most of the time in our sport, if it feels comfortable and right, it's usually wrong. So that's one of the few things.
Yeah. Another reason I do it is I guess the physics behind it. I have my hand higher on the axis, the war axis.
I think I told you this before. I tried it for
you said, what, 6 months?
Yep, I did it, and I really thought that I was going to get some benefit off of that. I knew at the beginning it's going to hinder my draw. It's going to hinder certain things. It's going to have bad grips, and I did. Long story short of it all, I never saw any personal records broken. I matched some with it, but I never broke any, and I never saw any benefits. I never saw anything that was advanced. I went back after 3 months, and again, it was funky at the beginning, and then everything kind of fell into place again. There was a lot more things that I needed to get better on than my grip placement at that time, and still, I think to this day, and for most people, grip placement's not as important as other things. Again, a lot more important than that is grip pressure and consistency of grip pressure.
Absolutely, and another reason, I've never seen it hurt me, so I don't want to change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right. I wouldn't tell you to change. Might make fun of you about it.
Everybody makes fun of me about it, but I just point to Eric Groffel.
Well, that's a good name. It's the best that's ever done this thing. He does it. So Jerry Barnhart, he's probably the first person I know that was top of the game doing it. So has it been done before and been the best? Absolutely, it is currently right now. But again, that's not why they're the best and world champion and this and that. They're that because they work hard and they do a lot of other things, right, that do matter.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, let's go do this some more.
One flat.
One flat. All right. So one thing on the draw that a lot of people in USPSA don't take advantage of. Now IPSec, you can't do this as much. When they say facing downrange in IPSec, they mean facing downrange. So if this is my target over here, I would actually on the buzzer then draw and shoot my target.
Right.
In USPSA, downrange is pretty lenient. They'll let you be square to this. So for me, I try on the draw, the only thing that moves is my arms and my gun presenting to the target.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have my hips, my shoulders square to the target that I'm engaging first.
Unless specifically stated you can't.
Yes, unless they force me and make
Right.
me where I can't do it.
Right,
And you know, even in IPSec, when they say facing down range, you know, you try to square, you know, as much as you can to the target. And I even try to cut my eyes. I don't just look down range. I try to have my eyes, even though my head's facing down range, my eyes are cheating and looking at the target.
Well, it kind of, you know, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. I'd rather them tell me I can't
Exactly.
than to ask them and they say no, because if
That's right.
my competitor gets that, you know, he's got that.
For sure,
extra
for sure. I
half
mean,
second
our
on it.
job is to push the line, and their job is to correct it. But
Right.
you know, you also don't want to be that guy. You know,
Well,
you don't want to
right,
walk
yeah.
to the line like, oh God, here comes Aaron. But you're absolutely right. You definitely want to take as much as they'll give you. You know, something else with the eyes that kind of brings me to my attention of a good talking point on the draw. I find a spot on the target when it's visible without I'm drawing, especially a static, fast-paced target or accuracy. It doesn't matter. I try to find a pinpoint spot that, like a laser beam, I'm trying to steer a hole into that spot. And before the buzzer, during the buzzer, throughout the whole draw until I actually engage that target, I don't take my eyes off of that target-focused spot as I'm drawing, trying to hit.
I do the exact same thing. So for me, I usually aim. It's just basically the same on every target. I aim for the top line of the alpha zone, or not aim. I'm looking at the top line of the alpha zone where I put my dot directly or just under it when I pull the trigger.
I got you. I mean, I wouldn't try to aim where knowingly I'm looking for a Charlie unless, you know, there's a penalty target or a hard cover that's pushing me away from it.
Right.
But you know, everything can be different on that as far as what you're looking for. I think more than anything is to have that visual concentration and patience to keep looking there as the sights get presented to the target. This is especially important when you're moving and shooting, whether you're doing, you know, you're stepping on the draw, or just moving and shooting in general. How your eyes are, and the intensely looking at where you want to hit as you're presenting the sights, as you're firing the shot, and the recovery is very, very important.
But
So
then again, in practice, one thing that I do is make myself not do that, so that when I get to a match, it's easy.
and
So
tell
for
me
instance,
what you mean by that.
For instance, when I practice, if I'm gonna shoot him first, I'm not gonna be square to him. I'm gonna stand.
You'll make
here,
it more of an IPSec start.
more of an IPSec style, so that when I go to an IPSec match, I don't naturally do that. You know,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. When we do our box drills, we do the same thing where we try both draws, where we do a
Right.
static draw, and then we also try to draw as we're moving out of position. And I think it's very important. The more tools you have in the tool bag,
Absolutely.
the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely.
So there's not just one, you know, one technique that you can do. You can do all of them, and then you pick and choose what you think is going to be best. Your best tactic for the stage and situation.
Exactly.
All right, very cool. Let's do a couple more.
Okay. It's a dangerous angle right there.
Now, one thing here I want to show you guys is Aaron's dropping his head. That's not ideal. When he transitions to his left, his weight's shifting to his right, which is also not ideal. So on the draw, what I want you guys to really work on is nothing moves but your arms and the gun. You know, depending on what kind of target it is, depends on how you're working the trigger, how you're stopping the sights before you break the shot. But making sure you're not changing your weight when you transition is very important on the transition. Try to stay neutral. And really make sure you focus visually.
You know, talking about consistency, like you're just talking about there. You know, losing the match by 1 point, such like that was off of one bad draw. I mean, look at right now, current national champion Christian Saylor. He, I think he was maybe top 5 in speed, but maybe he was 5th in speed. His points were, I want to say, if not the best in the top 5, they were one of the best.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is he never had a blowout. It was consistency.
Absolutely.
That was what it was, and you know,
and he didn't win every stage either.
Didn't win every stage.
He had a few stage wins, but he was.
The consistency was not blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, and that the biggest thing watching his performance there was actually not his shooting, even though it was awesome. It was putting his age in with what he did on the mental game of being consistent.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't matter if you're 19 or 30. What he did is hard as hell to do. Some people, they don't have that ability to, you know, settle themselves down to have that kind of consistency. So, you know, as a competitor that got whooped by him, you know, it was fun to appreciate it and see it, and it was also inspiring to make sure that, you know, next time I go and compete, that I'm, you know, I'm there as well. We talked about that match, you know, that you probably even should have beaten me at this year and at the Bull Open. The only reason that you didn't was consistency. That was it, just consistency.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things you can outshoot somebody and still lose, and you can actually not shoot as good as somebody and still win if you're more consistent than that.
That's
you know,
right.
it's everything. All right, let's go.
On the draw and the transition, you want to make sure you're going to go straight to the target. It doesn't swoop underneath or fish over top.
You just learned it because we talked about it.
I think you're right.
So again, when you draw, don't pull your head down to the gun like you see Aaron doing there. Pull the sights up to your eyes only. So one thing that's really big on the transition is making sure your eyes lead and everything else follows. Your eyes get there first, but everything starts moving together.
There's a lot of editing in that thing.